Good morning. Good morning. All right. I am Will Jernigan. I'm a member of the board. I am a member of the annual Giving Drive Committee, but I'm also probably best known as Laurel Jernigan's husband, and maybe even better known as Annabelle Jernigan's father. So thanks for being with us today. We're glad you're here, congregant or visitor, whoever you are, wherever you come from, whomever you love, wherever you are on your journey, however you identify, you're welcome in our faith community. If you're visiting here in the sanctuary, thanks for being with us in person. If you're online, we invite you to introduce yourself, tell us from where you're watching. We're glad you're here, virtual or otherwise. We're also grateful for the presence of our choir. We're grateful for the Sandbergers. We're grateful for our music director, Les Downs, and our technical staff, Stephen Carter, Jason Smith, and new to the team, Simon Jacobs, up in the corner. Now that we have rolled the credits ahead of time, let's get the service underway. Let us prepare for worship with today's centering music.
Good morning. I'm Reverend Kathy Harrington, and I am the interim minister here in this congregation. I'm going to light our chalice this morning with words from Reverend Maureen Coloran, who was a previous minister of this congregation. Love is the aspiration, the spirit that moves and inspires this faith we share. Rightly understood, love can nurture our spirits and transform the world. May the flame of this chalice honor and embody the power and the blessing of the love that we need, the love that we give, and the love that we are always challenged to remember and to share. Leslie Takahashi wrote these words, Takahashi, "To worship means to consider that which has worth." Today we consider with gratitude the many gifts of this community. The opportunity to be affirmed in who we are and to offer that affirmation to others. The chance to stand up together to help remake the world in the ideal of justice. The freedom to choose one's path to truth and to learn from the travelogues of others. The space to expand one's own spirit and to reconnect after busy or humdrum weeks with the sustaining truths of one's life. The aspiration to consider all life as precious, for if all of it is made of stardust, how can it not be wondrous? Today we consider with gratitude and humility what it means to pay it forward and what has means to for us to pay it forward and what has been paid forward for us. And so these infinite small acts of service that make the parts greater than the whole, done by so many for our purposes, we are grateful. And now we will enter into worship with gladness in our hearts. It's time for our wisdom story. Oh, music.
Good morning. All right, Brett's going to lead us in a song, and I am actually going to ask the kids right here in this general area. Kids, if you would be willing, step up with me, and we've got a few motions we're going to do with this song. And if we do it really well, maybe some of the grown-ups will do it with us. What do you think? Anybody inspired? Anybody inspired? I might end up doing this by myself. Anybody inspired? Okay, maybe we'll see how it goes. All right.
Anybody know John Gorka? So John Gorka, anybody remember when John Gorka did a show right here? We're gonna do this in honor of John. So this is a little John Gorka song. When I grow up, I want to be a tree, want to make my home with the birds and the bees and the squirrels. They can count on me when I grow up to be a tree. I'll let my joints get stiff, put my feet in the ground, take the winters off, settle down, keep my clothes till they turn brown. When I grow up, I'm gonna settle down. Okay, everybody can sing this with me. I'm gonna reach, I'm gonna reach, I'm gonna reach for the sky. I'm gonna reach, I'm gonna reach, I'm gonna reach till I know why. When the spring comes by, I'm gonna get real green. If the dogs come by, I'm gonna get real mean. On windy days, I'll bend and lean. When I grow up, I'm gonna get real green. If I should fall in storm or slumber, please don't turn me into lumber. I'd rather be a Louisville slugger, swinging for the seats. I'm gonna reach, I'm gonna reach, I'm gonna reach for the sky. I'm gonna reach, I'm gonna reach, I'm gonna reach till I know why. I'm gonna reach, 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 I'm gonna reach for the sky. I'm gonna reach, 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 I'm gonna reach till I know why, till I know why.
All right. In the end, we got him up. So I saw a few folks reaching in the crowd as well. Now, children and youth, we invite you to religious exploration. Nope. I'm going to do a wisdom story first. I'm going to reach for my notes so I know what comes next.
Sorry, lifting that child got me out of breath and threw me off my rhythm. But thank you, Lala. Okay, today's wisdom story is called 3 Cups. And it is about money. Anybody know anything about money? You do? What do you know about money? You spend it? You spend it on stuff. Yeah. You also give it? All right. What else do you do with it? Yeah, you give it, you save it. All right. I'm sorry, James? You have enough of it. Have enough of it. That's right. Be grateful for what you have. All right. Well, let's go ahead with the story on the screen, Jason, if we can. So our story starts with, on my 5th birthday, my parents gave me a wonderful present. They promised it would take me on many adventures. These 3 cups are from our cupboard, I said. Is this my present? There's more, my mother explained. Look inside the envelope. We think it's time you started getting a weekly allowance, my father told me. And every year it grew bigger. It will grow bigger, just like you will. Every week, we will help you decide how to divide your allowance among the 3 cups, Mother said. 1 cup is for saving, 1 cup is for giving or spending, and 1 cup is for giving. Thank you. After we discussed how to divide my money and put it in the cups, we put them in my room. But what about the adventure, I said. They'll come, my father promised. Every Saturday, week after week, I got so excited when it was time to put my allowance into the 3 cups. And every Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, and Friday, I forgot about the money. One day, my mother said, "It looks like your cups are filling up. Let's see how much you have." She helped me count, and I was surprised at how much there was, especially in my savings cup. "I have an idea," Mother said. "Let's take a trip to the bank." "You're rich," my sister said. "I think I want to keep saving my allowance in cups," I told my mother. "You can do that, but let's ask Mr. Duncan how the bank can help you save even more." Mr. Duncan, he was the president of the bank, and he told me that I could keep my money safe and make it grow. And I said, "Well, how?" He said, "Well, I put my money in the bank. We call it a deposit. It would be placed in my very own savings account, which would hold my money for me just like my savings cup did. But best of all, Mr. Duncan said the bank would pay me to keep my money there. The money the bank pays is called interest." He explained to me how it works. Interest sounded interesting to me. After I deposited money in my savings cup, Mr. Duncan gave me a lollipop, and I asked one for my sister too. "Is this the adventure?" I asked Mom. "It's just the beginning. Do you know how much money you have in your spending cup?" she asked. After we got home from the bank, I counted the money in my spending cup. I wanted a new baseball glove, but I knew I hadn't saved enough yet. She said, "Do you really want that glove?" "I do," I told her. Mother said if I saved enough money for a little while longer, I'd have enough money to buy it. My sister offered a different idea. She said that I could buy a doll instead. So I waited for 1 week, and then 2 weeks, and then 3 weeks. I had more than enough to buy a new baseball glove, and I bought my sister a present with the money left over. "This is an adventure," I told my mom and dad. "It's not over yet," Father said. "What about your giving cup?" Giving means helping others, but there were so many people who needed help, and my giving cup was so small. I went to my parents and asked them what I could do. 100 things, Father said. Mother said 100 times 100 things. And then I remembered that my school was collecting food for needy families. I asked my mother if I could go with her to the grocery store, and with the money from my giving cup, I bought 8 cans of soup. When I brought them to my teacher, Miss Phillips, she asked if I would like to help deliver the food out to our school that we'd collected. The families we helped were happy to receive our gifts. Helping them made me feel happy too. That night, my father asked which cup was my favorite. "My spending cup," I said. "Nope, my savings cup." "But my giving cup, that made me feel good too." Saving, spending, and giving, Father told me. Doing all three things as you keep growing up, that's the adventure. The weeks went by. Every week I divided my allowance into 3 cups. The years went by. Every year my allowance grew. When I got my first job mowing in the neighborhood or the neighbor's yard, I also put the money into the 3 cups. By the time I was in high school, I had bought many things with money from my spending cup. With the money from my giving cup, I had helped many people. And when I graduated high school, I used the money from my savings at the bank to help pay for the college I went to. And then I packed the 3 cups to take with me. Today, my own son turned 5 years old. Happy birthday, I said. Are you ready for an adventure?
And now we shall sing the children out. Here's how it works. Children and youth, we invite you to religious exploration. You'll be sung out of the sanctuary and then meet your group leaders in the foyer or Sandberg Hall go to classes together. Look for the adults holding a sign with your grade to find your group. If you're a new parent or you're visiting today, please escort your child to their class to meet the group leaders and find out where to pick them up after worship. And we will sing our children out now. So the idea of spiritual growth is one that I sometimes find enigmatic. I recently heard it contemplated in many ways. Finding joy in every moment, to be here now, to transcend the self, for some to seek the deeper and deeper connections to the people in their lives and the environment that we live in. For some to seek God. For some to seek the mystery. Whatever your words are to describe your journey, even if they don't include the word spiritual, you are on the journey all the same. And this place, our church, is my home for my journey, and it's your home for your journey. To grow ourselves to be stewards of those that were here long before us and those that will be here long after we are gone. This is our spiritual home. Today marks the kickoff of our annual giving drive, and it's going to run for 4 weeks up to March 26th from today. That's what we call Celebration Sunday. If you haven't already, you'll be receiving in the mail a pledge packet that looks something like this, and it is set up for you to provide your financial commitment for the upcoming year 23-24. In this packet, you'll find out a few things. One of those things you'll find out is that our theme this year is Roots and Wings. Those wings being the work that we do together as a congregation, all the way from justice ministry to religious exploration, everything in between. The roots are those assets that sustain the work that we do. They allow the work that we do. They include the principles that guide us, the covenants that we make to each other. They do include the giving of time, talent, and money. They also include our amazing staff, our amazing reverends, and the new lead minister, which we will meet very soon. In the packet, you'll also notice and see what we call a State of the U-Union. We're big fans of puns and using the UU in those puns as often as possible. Let me give you a couple cliff notes from the State of the U-Union. Our foundation is very strong. Like all churches, we face rising costs and a decline in financial giving. We're also at an exciting time of renewal, coming back from COVID, overflowing with visitors, reimagining ourselves and our justice ministry through the eighth principle, and welcoming a new minister soon. The annual giving drive, which kicks off today and goes for the next 4 weeks, is just one of 4 pillars of our long-term financial sustainability. It's one of 4. It's an important one, but it's one of 4, and there is a larger strategy. And that's in this packet that will have or should be receiving by mail. We need to grow our membership, and we're doing that, and we will continue to do that. We also need those that give to collectively give more as they are able. Your homework from today is to take in the information that you receive in this packet. Take in the words and the songs that you hear today and over the next few weeks. Reflect on what's in your heart about what UU means to you. And we ask that you turn in your financial commitment before the 26th of March, because that's the party. And that's our celebration Sunday. So mark your calendars for March 26th, where we'll celebrate the joy of giving, the joy of our community with music, communion, little c, and laughter. When I grow up, I want to be a tree. I'm going to reach for the sky. I'm going to reach until I know why.
Thank you, Will. In the center of our service and in the center of our lives, let us pause to honor the silences of the world. Let's open our hearts to the place of quiet, to the silent prayer for the healing of pain and the soft, gentle coming of love. Let us share a moment of silence. Now is the time in our service and in the center of our lives that we will honor our joys and sorrows with a candle lighting ritual. If you're in the sanctuary, feel free to come forward and light a candle of memory or hope. Or if you're online, please write in the chat box any joy or sorrow that you would like to share with the congregation. If you have shared a joy, know that we rejoice with you. And if you have shared a sorrow, know that you are held in love and care by this community. Music.
As we are in a season of renewal here today together, including coming back from being disconnected, whatever joys or sorrows you brought with you today, in this spiritual home, you are surrounded by fellow travelers who support you.
Does anybody notice somebody missing up here? Where's Sandra's under the weather. Sandra's under the weather. So if you hear Sandra's part, feel free to sing it.
That's right. We should have asked that beforehand. Does anyone know Sandra's part? Please step forward. I seen you in a sadness. I seen you when you hope to die. I heard you say, hey, that it's raining all over the world. What did I tell you? What did I say? Just when your faith has gone, give it one more day. I seen you with your head low, face down on the ground.
Down in the ground.
I heard you say, lost and you couldn't be found. What did I tell you? What did I say? Just when your faith has gone, give it one more day. Next thing, shining right back at the sun, rolling right back at the wind, blowing right back at the ocean. Nothing's gonna do you in, so give it one more day. One more day. Just when your faith has gone, give it one more day. I seen you when your soul shines. I seen you when your heart sings. I heard you say, yeah, that the world don't owe you a thing. What did you tell me? What did you say? Just when your faith has gone, give it one more day. Just when your faith has gone, give it one more day. Just when your faith has gone, give it one more day.
Marty Friedman.
That was great. Just as a PSA, I'm told that everyone should look at the end of their rows and just check for the tissue boxes. So just fair warning. So my name is Wesley Miller, and I also happen to be co-chair of this year's annual Giving Drive. And my name is Wes, for those who are fortunate enough not to know that. but here's my story, and here's why we're committed to UUCA. At my house, there is a plant shelf in the front window that is not quite level. And I'm going to tell you how it got there and why that shelf is the reason I support UUCA in a way that is different than all of my other giving. We came to UUCA in the way many have. I suddenly had small children and wanted to figure out how to raise them as ethical human beings in a confusing and contrary world. But our suddenly was literally one day when our social worker called to let us know that there was a group of 3 siblings, 5, 3, and 4 months old, that needed what would likely be a long-term placement. Christy called me at work and asked what I thought of this as a fit for our family and what we would need, and my only suggestion was that we would need a bigger car. And pretty quickly, it was clear we also needed a support system, and Christy suggested church. As I was raised in a very supportive but very Christian environment, and Christy was raised by wolves, she said, let's try the Unitarians. It's like Thoreau, like early presidents. But if you do know me, I'll try anything once. The first day we arrived, I noted 3 things. 1, I already knew a handful of people here that I was pretty sure weren't church people. They served fair trade coffee. And 3, they read the kids the book And Tango Makes 3, which is about 2 male penguins who are life partners raising an egg in the Bronx Zoo. So we engaged in the youth programs and generally got a good feel from the family events and Mark's Ward's sermons, the minister at the time, and felt good that we were in a community of people that went out from Sundays to do good in the world. And then life happened. We were on a vacation visiting our in-laws' hobby farm in Minnesota while our house was being demolished for an upgrade from our mid-60s wood-paneled decor, when we got a frantic call from our mother-in-law. A horse had wheeled and caught our daughter in the forehead, and she was being flown to the Mayo Clinic. 48 hours later, after brain surgery and skull reconstruction, she was safe, conscious, had 2 incredible shiners, and spoke with a Minnesotan accent for about 2 weeks, thanks to the sweet, kind nurses and a bit of brain swelling. And we were able to start the process of moving back home. While the scariest part was over, the havoc it was wreaking on our functioning as a busy 4-child family had just started. Trying to keep an energetic 8-year-old still for 2 weeks while she recovered, while going back to work, figuring out the medical bills, how were you going to live in a construction zone, keeping up medical appointments, getting kids to camp, everything. We got home, and the DRE at the time let us know that they knew what was going on, thanks to social media, and there would be people coming over tomorrow to help. 24 people showed up with food, snacks, kid care, and forced us to face the fact that we were loved and that people were going to show up in our lives to help. Christy had to be forced to make a to-do list because she'd never experienced what it was like to be the receiver of that kind of unconditional support. By afternoon, the daunting chore list was done, including Mark Ward showing up in a pair of shorts and crew socks to mow the lawn. A week's worth of demo was complete, and people kept asking what else could they do. And the time till school started, a whole host of people we hardly knew handed off Nicole as she napped and petted kittens and played games and regained her strengths. And that day, Ian Fisher put up a plant shelf in the front window. And I'll be damned if I'm ever going to fix it. Because every time I see it, I'm reminded of how this congregation, this community, is different from all the other places I put my time, talent, and treasure. And that is when UUCA became us. And I pray you will never need us to step up like that for you. But I do promise you this. If you do, we will. And if it isn't for you, it will be for somebody else. And I also promise that the Sierra Club will not show up to mow your lawn. The United Way will not put up a shelf in your house, and Beloved won't keep texting you, telling you they'll figure things out when your dad has open heart surgery the same week you're supposed to speak for the annual Giving Drive kickoff. So truly, I ask you, how do you frame your giving to this place? Global warming, immigration reform, political upheaval, all these things we must go out and speak for. But there is no investment I know of, your resources, that will return in this way. I never worry that we are adrift in the world. We are rooted to this place. And I never worry I have extended myself for UUCA. Since that day in 2016, I committed to doing whatever was in my ability to make sure this place would stand on solid footing as long as I have the capacity to help. Thank you. Thank you all for being the heroes in this story, and thank you for your support to UUCA.
Wow, what a joyful Sunday. Great music. And now, the moment you've all been waiting for, our guest speaker, Jake Morrill. I've known Jake for a few years. We served, both of us, in Tennessee. Jake served the Oak Ridge Church for 19 years. That was the first church you served, right? 19 years, they must have liked him. Anyway, I know you're going to like him, and so I'm going to invite him up to do his sermon, which is called, Do You Want to Be a Lighthouse? Thank you, Jake. We're so excited to have you here.
Well, I'm coming here grateful. I've been watching you over the mountains for a long time, almost 20 years. Maybe you didn't know that you were being watched. I've seen you in the fight for marriage equality, for so many other justice fights here in the state of North Carolina as an important presence. You have done powerful ministry in the lives of people I love who are important to me. And so I come here in part to say thank you and to start in that way. As I was growing up as a child in the Tennessee Valley UU Church in Knoxville, God often appeared to me in the form of crusty Appalachian atheists. There may be one or two here today. And one of them was named Phil. Phil drove a late 1960s VW van, and he had a scraggly gray beard, a twinkle in his eye, and he taught philosophy at the University of Tennessee. And he was, for some reason, often my Sunday school teacher, where whatever the plan was not often what we would discuss that morning. There came a time when I was 13 that my heart was broken. My parents had gotten a divorce that had come as a surprise to me, and I knew that part of our family culture was that we're okay. It's those other people who've got problems. So I faced the firmament of the world cracking in two in this divorce with a big bright smile, my chin jutted out, ready to help those other people who had problems. Other classmates, I was ready to listen, volunteering with the UU church, until there came this Sunday afternoon when both of my parents were serving on different committees at the church, and Phil said that he'd drive me home in that VW bus. And we drove in silence. In fact, I, in some ways, had been living in silence for 6 months to that point, holding this terrible new reality within me. And he said, I know that your parents split up. How is that for you? And it was like the Fontana Dam cracking and all of the tears of all of those months coming forward. And he didn't have eloquence, words of wisdom. He just had a hand on my shoulder as he drove the rest of the way. But it changed everything. My heart now broken open, no longer pretending. I could face what at that point in my life I needed to face. And in many ways, that moment is the origin story of my whole ministry, like the prayer of St. Francis, which pedants will tell you is not really by St. Francis. Lord, make me an instrument of your peace. Where there is hatred, let me sow love. Where there is injury, pardon. Where there is doubt, faith. Where there is despair, hope. Because I received in that way, I was hungry to give likewise. A week ago, I arrived in Buffalo, New York, sunny Buffalo, New York, for business. And they put me up in a very nice hotel, and when I got to the lobby, it was a tableau of misery. They were understaffed. There was only one guest, and there in the lobby, positioned as if ready to pounce, were 3 angry guests. There was a pile of towels in the corner. Something was deeply wrong, and they were ready to let this poor clerk know about it. But then the next morning, 13 hours later, this was 9 p.m., and I checked out at 10 a.m., the same clerk was there. Big smile on her face. And I said, "How are you doing?" And she gave a brave and professional smile and said, "Just fine." I think a lot of us here in 2023 are living something like that in our shiny online profiles. Everything looks just perfect. From a distance and at a glance, there's a semblance of everything being put together just right. All the boxes checked. But those who pay attention, those who stick around to listen long enough, will notice the cracks in the firmament, the process somehow broken down, the gears grinding, the stress, the exhaustion of keeping a stiff upper lip through the long night, only to greet the morning with that smile, telling everybody, just fine. It could be I'm wrong. It could be that everybody here in this room already has everything figured out. No problems at all. It could be that, so I don't know, maybe we can check. Is there anyone here, and keep your hands up, is there anyone here with some unresolved pain in your life or your family this morning? Is there anyone here this morning, keep those hands up, is there anyone here who's up against some challenge and you're not sure what you're going to do about it? Is there anyone here this morning, keep those hands up, who is in circumstances that feel something like a raging storm where the waters are rising? With your hands still up, I want you to turn to your neighbor and say, whatever you're going through, you are not alone. Now that's the kind of church I want to be part of. The church that I just heard Wes tell you about, the church that shows up to pain, that shows up to trouble, the church that is honest. A congregation like that, a community like that has given up on pretending. I've read a number now of your annual pledge campaign documents, and I admire that as a community you very recently made up a budget shortfall by pulling together and closing the gap. That fits my general impression from you, as I say, from a distance over the mountains with my spyglass trained on you all these years. The last time I was here in your pulpit was to preach at the installation service of Lisa Bovee Kemper years ago. That was maybe a decade or so ago. And at that time, I marveled that people kept telling me, we have just purchased the houses next to this church, in the neighborhood down the street. And what I marveled at even more is I kept asking, and what will you do with these houses? And kept hearing, we don't know yet. With great excitement. We're not sure. We just thought it would be a good idea. I thought, well, wow, okay. I mean, and I know that after this service, a number of you will come up to reassure me of the strategy and I know that it was a serious plan. That's not what I heard that day, though. We don't know. We just bought them. That's what I heard. I thought, okay, wow. This congregation has some resources and some, expansive possibilities here. I have the delusion this morning, I'll just tell you, that if you all wanted, you could double the annual budget with the current membership. I know, it's just this idea that I have in my head. Since last summer, I've been attending a congregation in Oak Ridge that is about a quarter smaller than the one that I served, and made up of a membership that is significantly less well-heeled than the UU's of Oak Ridge, and the budget is about a third larger. And I think that that's not uncommon. UU congregations and their neighbors. It's again not a question of capacity or can't, it's a question of will and why. It's my conviction that you all have among you more than the resources to do whatever you want to do. The question is, what is it that you want to do? You've been asked to consider shifting your relationship to making your pledge from one that is transactional to one that is transformational. And as I say, I think you're more than able to do that if you choose. My question is, why would you choose to do that? You have other commitments, you have families, you have bills. What on earth would send you to the kitchen table with that legal pad and a pen for some serious consideration and reprioritization that such transformational commitment requires, so that your pledge isn't just grudgingly or even happily tossing a couple of extra dollars into the bucket, but is putting yourself forward wholeheartedly as a way to say, I am in. I am in. I know that there's deferred maintenance on this property. There are staff salaries. There's the reality of inflation. At the end of this ministerial search cycle, you will welcome some new lucky sucker to be your lead minister. And perhaps there's the idea that digging deeper this one time would help your congregation sort of build a bridge to a time not too far from now when the property would be spiffed up, the budget gap would be closed, this bright and shiny new minister, whoever it is, would be installed, and all would be well, back to smooth living. But I consider that perspective at odds with credible sociological research on the trajectory of congregational life in this country. If all of that research on congregational life has anything to it, if communities of faith are going to live, they must be willing to die. To understand that the solutions of yesterday are actually now the problems of today. In other words, when you call your new next lead minister, you are not inviting that person to share a sunny afternoon picnic where the only concern is that you might be running a few sandwiches short. To take in the realities of congregational life in an age of upheaval. That invitation is more like asking someone to travel with you through the middle of a societal and unprecedented storm that shows no sign of slowing. So I would offer to you this morning that a transformational gift would best be in response to a transformational call. That you are putting your money down not for the sake of maintenance and stability, but for the sake of serving a high purpose in a time of chaotic weather and rising storms, nothing less than of saving lives. Quite simply, I hope you will make your transformational gift not to build a better clubhouse, but to be a lighthouse. Now, to consider that call, it might help to reflect for a moment on exactly what a lighthouse is and what it is for. In the centuries and even millennia prior to GPS technology, a lighthouse could be found on some rocky outpost on the perilous edge between the land and the sea, rising up in a tower where a rough mosaic of reflectors bound together were able to direct a light not of their own making out into the night, waters where voyagers were struggling to contend with the elements to no certain outcome. This lighthouse and any like it would have three purposes. Those purposes would be to warn, to guide, and to encourage. To warn of the danger of rocks and riptides and dangerous shores, to guide, offering ships at sea a possible pathway and compass to find their way home, so that those out on the sea saw a signal that let them know that their struggle, that they were not alone. And to encourage, to imbue courage in those in the midst of their struggle. To warn, to guide, and encourage. The location of a lighthouse, it may be obvious, is important to its function. You don't want to build a lighthouse in the middle of a meadow. You position a lighthouse in proximity to trouble, even at some certain risk to itself. And not near the trouble, but with its back facing it. Instead, facing the trouble head on. For those in ministry, which in our liberal tradition means everyone in this room, in our tradition of the priesthood and the prophethood of all believers, lighthouse ministry means going where there is trouble and not turning your back on it, but facing it. This doesn't mean well-heeled people going into impoverished neighborhoods benevolently offering help. It means turning to face head-on any storms in your marriage or important relationships, the storms in your family, the storms in your congregation, the storms in your life, which up till this morning you may have pretended were not actually there. Big smiles, everything's fine. It means facing those too. A lighthouse does not only squarely face those storms. An arrangement of reflectors bound together sends light not of its own making out into rough waters. In response to terrible and damaging theology in childhood and frankly all over the place, Some come to believe that there is no greater light or force of love in this world except that which they can make with their own efforts and by their own hands, wrestling it into existence. And so, too many, in the name of faith, spend their days like a frustrated camper, feverishly rubbing damp sticks together, sometimes seeing smoke, but never the light or warmth that's desired. It is not our work as mortals to reverse engineer the spirit of life or to bring it by force wholly into this world. Ours is the more challenging work of putting ourselves at an angle and in a way that our life can best reflect the light that is already there. And as we attempt to do this on our own, we will see that the light of our small shard of reflector material is too small, but that when we join with others, together, this light of life can be reflected in a powerful beam out into the storm to those who are drowning. When we bind ourselves together in such a way that those desperate in the storm for the light of love can receive it, we can take up the holy purpose of a lighthouse to warn, to guide, to encourage. Too often, in the name of individual freedom, aka emotional avoidance, we let our siblings go astray without hearing one warning from us. Well, we shrug, it's up to them, it's none of my business. But we know what the jagged rocks of addiction can do to a life. Addiction to the numbing solutions of alcohol, internet, approval of others. Too often, in the name of personal choice, we let those we love steer toward the narrow channels where we've seen too many others shipwreck, the narrow channels of loneliness, the narrow channels of pretending that I've got it all figured out. If I am a lighthouse with a duty to warn in the name of love, I will be in your life in a way that lets you know the jagged rocks and narrow channels that I see up ahead in your life. I will relate to your struggles with more than a shrug and a change of topic. And if I am a lighthouse, I will endeavor that the light I reflect out to you in your struggles does more than merely warn. I will let that light guide. By that, I do not mean telling others what they need to do, my you siblings. By that, I do not mean pretending to know the answers for anyone else, but to let the light guide means to allow the blessing of truth to fall upon one who is lost at sea, the truth that each of us is of inherent worth and dignity, if only we can remember, the truth that none of us got here alone and none of us will ever make it alone, the truth that any long-term gain requires short-term pain. If I am a lighthouse to you, I will reflect the light of truth like that upon you. And if I am a lighthouse, I will do more than warn and more than guide. I will encourage. To encourage is to do more than cheerlead. To encourage is not the same as saying, good job. To encourage is to be in a relationship with someone such that they are able to discover and to harness the courage within themselves such that they never knew or ever harnessed before, to do what they must do, to face what they must face, to go where they must go, to be who they are. To be a lighthouse to someone in their lives is not to settle for chit-chat or working not to rock the boat. Because from what I can tell, the boats of too many lives and communities here in February 2023 is already rocking, already at sea, already in the storm. What these lives and communities don't need is reassurance that everything will continue to be the same. What these lives and communities lost at sea need is a lighthouse, a gathered effort, bound together of powerful light that cuts through the storm, able to warn, guide, and encourage, so that those who are lost now can find their way home. Now, the danger of saying this to a relatively financially comfortable congregation, footnote, I know that not every household in this congregation is financially comfortable. To say this to a relatively financially comfortable congregation, the risk of it is that people could start to imagine themselves as in possession of the lighthouse, on solid ground, of only existing to help others who are lost at sea. That is the hallucination of middle-class culture. But I want to tell you that 2 years ago, I was preaching in Maryville, south of Knoxville, when I saw someone familiar sitting at the back of the room. After the service, I went up to greet him. It was Phil, the VW bus driving philosophy professor, who had saved my life. when I was 13. Talking with him and exchanging a glance with his wife, it was clear to me that he was now in some stage of dementia, no longer the witty and self-secure man I had known. And then someone else from the congregation came over with a glass of water and sat down next to Phil and took his hand and held it and was simply there with him. I mean, with him. I don't know if there's a way to emphasize the word with, but was with him as the body of love there for Phil at sea in the ocean of early dementia. I mean, anyone in this room who imagines themselves to be impervious to the storm is occupying a different world than the one I have known. In the world I have known, each of us, at least sometimes and perhaps often, is lost at sea, edging too close to danger, and is in need of a lighthouse. So as we endeavor to together be that lighthouse for others, let us not be ashamed to confess that we ourselves are in many ways this morning and this year also lost at sea, in need of a warning, of guidance, and of encouragement. As we have given, let us also receive, and let that exchange be deeper than pleasantry. Let it be transformational, not only transforming our lives and relations, not only transforming this whole congregation, but as the strength of this lighthouse grows and reaches more lost at sea, you can imagine beyond this sanctuary that the neighborhood around, people also have their hands raised. They're in pain, they're in challenge, they don't know what to do. As you imagine the light from this lighthouse reaching them, let the transformation be the wider community and of this whole world until that old universalist dream has come true of a world without ending and all saved by love. Let your transformational gifts be in proportion to a transformational call. Make a gift that makes you deeply uncomfortable. One that makes you wonder if you have lost your mind. Because you are operating now not by comfort, but by faith, by trust, by saying, I'm all in. Make a gift that signifies your seriousness about saving lives, including your own, that are in peril this morning. Blessings in your discernment.
Wow, thank you, Jake, so much. I thought, Jake's preached 19 stewardship sermons. He could drag one up, bring one of his greatest hits here for you, but he didn't do that. He wrote one for you, and I'm so grateful, and I think you should be too. So now let us rise in body or spirit and sing hymn number 1028, The Fire of Commitment.
Thank you.
We're running a little late this morning. I want to just ask visitors to hold your carnations, your pink carnations in the air so that we can see you. Any visitors we have today? Thank you. Thank you so much for being here. And the rest of you, please note that the visitors in Sandberg Hall will have a pink carnation. Please say hello to them, introduce yourselves, and make them feel welcome. The work of the congregation. So your announcements run on slides at the beginning of the service, and I think sometimes they're in Sandberg Hall as well, so you can see what's going on. The weekly e-news on Thursdays has everything in it, and if you don't receive the e-news, please talk to one of the ushers, and they will tell you how you can receive it. Our community plate this month is the UU Asheville Hetland Scholarship Fund. We're very proud of that fund. You can donate by check, put community plate in the memo line, and you can also donate online. Today's offering will now be collected and gratefully received. If this is your first time here, if you're a guest, please let the collection plate pass you by. Service is our gift to you, and your presence is our gift to us. Sandburgers.
In the spirit of the joy of giving. Up above my head,
Up above my
I
head,
hear music in the air.
hear music in the air.
Up above my head,
Up above my
I
head,
hear music in the air.
hear music in the air.
Up above my head,
I hear music in the air.
really do believe, I really do believe there's a joy somewhere. Feel free to call and response. All around this room,
All around this room,
I hear music in the air.
hear music in the air.
All around this room,
All around this room,
music in the air.
hear music in the air.
All around this room,
Room, I hear music in the air.
really do believe,
Really do believe there's a joy somewhere.
all around the world.
All around the
I
world,
hear music in the
I
air.
hear music in the air.
All around this world,
All around this
I hear
world,
music in the
music in
air.
the air.
All around this world,
world, I hear music in the air.
really do believe,
Really do believe there's a joy somewhere.
said I really do believe,
Really do believe there's a joy somewhere.
said I really do believe,
Really do believe there's a joy somewhere.
For your gifts of time, presence, talent, and treasure, we are grateful.
I'm going to keep the closing words short. When I grow up, I want to be a tree. I'm going to reach for the sky. I'm going to reach until I know why. Please rise in body or spirit as we sing our closing song. After that, stick around because we got a pretty good one for the postlude that you might want to sing along with. That's also a sing along. And after that, please join us in Sandberg Hall for fellowship.
Am I the only one thinking we needed some village people? You there, there's no need to feel down. I said you there, pick yourself off the ground. I said you there, 'cause you're in a new town. There's no need to be unhappy. Asheville, there's no place you can go. I said Asheville, if you're wanting to grow, you can go there. And I'm sure you will find loving hearts and open minds. We are UUCA. UUCA. You can love who you want and are free to be you. Buddhist, atheist, Christian, or Jew. UUCA. UUCA. You can join a small group, take part in protest, meditate to lower your stress. You there, are you listening to me? I said you there. Who do you want to be? I said you there. There's a place that you'll love, but you've got to know that one thing, no one does it all by themselves. I said you there. Put your guilt on the shelf and just go there. To the UUCA, you are welcome any Sunday. We are UUCA. UUCA. We've got fair trade coffee, some for you and for me. You can even take a class in RE. UUCA. UUCA. Whether younger or old, we don't do what we're told. Free thinkers, we broke the mold. Hey there, we were once in your shoes. We were down and out with the blues. We felt no one cared if we were alive. We all need some friends to survive. That's when someone came up to me and said, you there, take a walk up the street. There's a place there called the UUCA. They can brighten up your bad day. We are UUCA. UUCA. You'll explore what you believe. Kids learn from Owl how not to conceive. UUCA. UUCA. You there, Asheville, justice is our goal. You there,